Welcome to this week's Steam Podcast, the podcast where we vent our frustration into the void for all to ignore. I'm Buddy,
Becker.
And I'm Will.
and this week we're going to talk about sequels and Steam reviews, and probably other things. Let's discuss some sequels. I'm going to bring up Vermintide. I'm honestly not frustrated about it, but I just wanted to bring up the reviews and how people kind of look at sequels in the gaming community. Uh, I think it's like a stigma, but for the most part, in my opinion, I feel like a lot of sequels fall far from the mark that the original, for example, the Mass Effects. Although Mass Effect 2 was good, um, Mass Effect 1 kind of got everyone into the whole series. Mass Effect 2, kind of went into more detail about everything. Mass Effect 3 kind of didn't really hit the mark. It kind of missed it. Um, there was one you were talking about, Will, a sequel that you didn't like, which was Dragon Age 2. Would you like to expand on that?
Sure. I wouldn't necessarily say I didn't like it. I just question some of the decisions that they made with it. It has a different feel from the first game, which is not a bad thing, but um, it's definitely a big switch combat wise
Right.
compared to the first game. The first game had you could have either real time um, fighting combat in it where you're casting the spells and everything's happening all at once, or you could have that kind of pause, plan out what you want to do with each character, and then let it go. And you can even plan out a couple of moves in advance so that they would just do whatever. We're
I
having
think
problems with Pat.
I think I mean I agree with you. I think what the problem is that you have an original game that does a good job at kind of introducing you to a mechanic or something, um, uh, and all of a sudden they bring into a new game, kind of trying to follow the same story, maybe a whole new story, and they want to add new mechanics, and I think that ends up breaking it for some reason.
Um, well, the first game, like the combat mechanics in the first game weren't anything new. They were pretty straightforward. Other games have had those similar mechanics to them. They had even certain spells and moves could combo together. So if you were able to freeze an enemy and then hit them with a specific type of attack, you could shatter them. So like a mage could freeze the enemy and then send like I think it was called like Stone Fist, and it would send out this rock projectile. And if it hit the frozen enemy, it had a chance to just shatter them instantly and instantly kill them. Once you got to higher levels with your characters, there was a chance that even higher level enemies would be frozen and shattered instantly. So you could be fighting these huge ogre enemies that were tough when you first meet them, but then your
Right.
mage might be able to handle them by having that happen. It wasn't going to happen all the time, but there was a decent chance of it going on.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, and the thing is too is that I think they tried to go because I believe in the first one I played like a rogue. It was a dwarf rogue, and I really enjoyed it. And then I tried it in the second one, and I felt like it wasn't the mechanics for the rogue weren't there, and I'm not sure why. I just felt like I wasn't as good, or I was more of a detriment to the team.
it was weird. The combat turned into more. I don't want to say like faster. I guess it was faster paced just because you couldn't. I mean, you could still pause it and have people do things, but it was you were restricted to. So you had like two sets of moves that you can do, and I played it on the console because I didn't have a gaming PC back then. So I played it on console, and you'd hold like left trigger to get to the second set of moves,
Right.
and it was fine. But eventually, I got to the point where I was so strong that I could just mash my basic attack. And I was playing a rogue in that. I was playing like the I think you could only be a human in that. I don't even think you could pick any other race. But I was playing as a rogue character, and I was just mashing my basic attack
Mhm.
because I would penetrate armor. I'd do a lot of damage from behind, so I would just get behind and then just start stabby, 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 stabby,
And
and then that would be it.
And two is the one where you can like pause the battle in the middle and kind of like, or bring it to a really slow and command people what to do at certain times. They didn't have that in one. One, I think it was like a,
No, you did. You could pause the battlefield completely. and then pick what you wanted to do, and then have it start up again. You could even float the camera around to different. You can change the view on like what enemies were around, see what they were, and then plan accordingly around that.
Right.
The second one also had a similar feature, but with the way that combat played out, I don't know, it felt kind of useless to do that at some point. Um, and the game also had much more. I mean, even like the first game, it was limited. Like you could go around like the entire map that you had to different cities or forests or areas and walk through them. Some of them were big, some of them were small. This game, everything felt kind of clustered and small. Like even missions that would take you outside of the city, just the maps were pretty closed off and just
The first one was the one where you went to the Templars tower, right, and fought like your way up it.
yeah.
Yeah, that one that was epic. That
The beginning when you just become a whatever.
well, no, it's like close to like three-quarters through of the game, and you get to the tower and you have to fight all the way up to the top of it. It's just like all those fights were awesome, and just the mechanics just were really fucking cool. And playing the rogue was a lot of fun because you just did massive damage.
I thought that was the beginning of Dragon Age when you're like
Nope.
when you
You-
just drink the blood.
No, no, no,
No,
no.
no,
He's
no,
not
no,
talking about being a Grey Warden. He's talking about the
Oh.
Mage Tower, the tower that you go to that's
Gotcha,
being
gotcha.
Yeah.
overrun by abominations. That see the thing was, this is the same company that made the Knights of the Old Republic games, and in the Knights of the Old Republic games, you didn't have to do things in a specific order. You can go in whatever order you want to the planets. It just scaled with your level. So it was always at the level that it should, like at the difficulty and the challenge that it should be for your level, no matter what
I don't know how I
difficulty
feel
rating
about
you
that.
put it on.
I don't know how I feel about that because if you're supposed to go to a tough area, it should be a tough area. Like, I mean,
No, I agree with that. That's the way to do it. If not, then it's Final Fantasy VII already, and you're sitting in a corner grinding up.
yeah, I guess
The
it does
next
promote
level.
grinding. If you, it's kind of like I'm thinking WoW mentality. It's like this whole area. It's Guild Wars 2 versus WoW. Guild Wars 2 levels everything. You level to everything in that area, but that area is that level. Whereas WoW is this is a level 45 area. You're level 15. Don't fucking go there, kind of thing.
Two but totally
So,
different. You're talking
yeah.
about an MMO versus
Well, what I'm saying,
Single player
I'm
game.
using as an example
Oh.
as to the mechanics of how you can fix that. They can be a, I mean, the only thing is that if they're higher level, they don't scale down to you. You scale down to them, which I like that. I don't know how I feel about them scaling down to you. I just feel like I don't want grinding in a game because grinding fucking blows. But at the same time, I don't want it so that you can just go to any place on the map at any point. I guess that's what you just lock it behind stories. That's the whole point.
Well, the thing about it was it's not that you go there over leveled and everything's a joke. It's that when you get there, everything's scaled to your level. So it's instead of the player being scaled down or
Right.
scaled up, it's the enemies that are going to get scaled up for you.
Mhm.
So that way, it kept the whole risk of I could still die if I don't keep on my toes,
True.
which I'm fine with. The second game did that as well. Like but there wasn't any real. You could just go around and do what you wanted to do in your order, in whatever order you wanted to. Plus, there were things in the first game, like I guess the second one had them as well, but I only played through it once because I didn't want to play it again. It didn't even really hold my interest through the entire playthrough the first time through. But the first game had areas that I went back to because there were things I could still do. Like there were
Yeah.
like I as simple as like my stat wasn't high enough to be able to see it or something like that, but I could still go back and try some new things that are not many things. There's like one or two things left over in the area to just screw around with. One of the things I remember is finding like phylacteries of liches,
Oh, that's cool.
and you could die right away. Those are one of the things that you could be under leveled for, but you could always come back and try it again. Like you could still do it. You just had to pretty much touch it, and then this boss would appear that you'd have to fight. It was the
There's one in
same
the
boss
Mage
every
Tower.
time.
Yeah. Yeah, which
But-
is redundant and boring, but it's still a cool idea to go. It's like a challenge. There was one in the Mage Tower, if I remember correctly, in like
Yeah,
a specific room. Yeah, that thing. I accidentally. Yeah, I remember that fight. very
Uh,
vividly. I
I
got
touched
wrecked.
I touched the one in the forest first and got my ass handed to me. But it was interesting that they would put stuff like that. So it just made me think like maybe I should go back to everything before I like move on to the next main quest just to make sure if there's anything I can do right now, I can do it so I don't miss out on something
One thing
interesting.
I do like about developers in games, like, well, let me rephrase that better. A certain mechanic in a game that I think should be predominant or should be mandatory or a baseline or a part of the foundation of it is when you get past a certain area, it shouldn't be locked so that you can't go back to it. That drives me nuts. Like, oh man, I could have just, 100% of this game if I could just go back to this area and just talk to this one person and get a different community, like different dialogue or something like that. Like, if a story is going to make you go progress, it shouldn't prevent you from not being able to go back to that area. I feel like that kills a lot of the game.
Yeah, unless it's for story reasons that you can't go back, like the
Yeah,
city was
sure.
destroyed or something,
Sure,
that's
that I
fine. But
totally I get. But then if you're going to do that, they should have implemented some kind of way of canceling out or warning the player that it's going to happen because then it makes people
It
decide at
just
that
makes you
moment.
play it again. That's the whole point. Is the
Yeah,
replayability. Did it wrong, so go
but
back and
that's
try it again.
but it's not replayability, it's forcing you to play. So it's not really the game doesn't have replayability. It's you playing that game again
Screwed
just
up,
to
and now you got to
100.
go back.
Yeah, see that's you
well,
shouldn't be
if
punished.
if we're talking about like Western RPGs, yeah, sure, you screwed up because you missed something, you need to go back and like play it again. But with Japanese role-playing games, it's oh, I didn't know I had to go to this mountain crest at 2 in the morning with this character and a stick up my ass in order for this event to happen.
Right, there's
You forgot
there's
to hop on one foot with your tongue sticking out.
Man, I should have
how
known
would
that
you
I
not
had
have
to
known
slap
that?
a priest 5 times and then call him a joke and run out with while dumping tomato sauce on my head in order for me to get my ultimate weapon for this one character.
Or getting struck by lightning 200 times in a fucking row. Oh
Yeah,
god,
what
fuck
a like
that.
dodging it, dodge the lightning.
Was it I thought you had to get struck by it. Or no, you
No,
had to
you had to
dodge.
dodge
Yeah,
it.
you had to dodge. Yeah, fuck that. So Becca, what's your opinion on sequels? Do you think that they help? Like, I guess it depends on the developer.
There is only a few sequels I can think of that at the end of it I thought were garbage. Most part, I think sequels are good. So like, you guys
Okay.
don't like Dragon Age 2. I
Yeah,
did.
no.
I think the downfall was the restriction to one city. If they blew that up, it would have been different. Dragon Age 3, I like Dragon Age 3. I owned it on PC. I played it a few times. I have like three or four run throughs through
That
it.
was Inquisition, right?
Yeah, Inquisition.
Yeah, I
The same
didn't.
thing with Mass Effect 3. I liked Mass Effect 3. I had no problems with it. My biggest issue they patched out of it. I thought it was dumb that I had to do the multiplayer to get the real ending, and they got rid of that like right away.
Yeah,
Actually,
like the best ending.
Mass Effect
I
3
think
was
it's the best
alright.
ending.
I didn't mind Mass Effect 3. Everyone was complaining about the ending, and I didn't really care for it. I thought the ending was
So like,
alright.
I'm looking through my Steam thing. So I've bought Watch Dogs and Watch Dogs 2. Watch Dogs 2 I thought was really good.
Okay.
I think its problem was that Watch Dogs 1 was really bad, so no one bought 2. I'm like, look at they're like the only sequel I can think of that I really didn't like was the Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Okay.
The Sith Lords. I didn't like that one.
Okay.
Why so?
I don't know. I feel like at the end they just ran out of time and just shipped it. Like I don't feel like it had a full story, or maybe I'm not remembering it right. But I remember like at one point being like, "Wait, what? That's the end? Why did it just end like this? Shouldn't it have been more?"
I mean,
I don't
the first
understand.
the first game kind of ended that way too. Your character just leaves without
That's
telling
true.
anybody anything, and then in the second game, if you get like your what is it like repair skill up high enough, you can get the T3 droid you can get a message from Bastila asking you to go out and find Revan.
Oh, see, I never got my repair skill high enough.
Yeah, so it's like that the ending to the first game, I was like, what?
You know,
What? And then when the second game came out and it's not following Revan anymore, I'm like, well, fuck. But I still enjoyed the second one.
but look at a game like Far Cry 2, which revolutionized that entire series. That was a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sequel that
True.
was amazing.
So maybe it's not
Absolutely
sequels
amazing.
exactly, but maybe when they just keep going with it, like Assassin's Creed or Dead Space or
But even Assassin's Creed
Bioshock.
2, I would find it very hard for anyone to say Assassin's Creed 2 wasn't one of the probably the best Assassin's Creed they made.
Yeah, it was 3, 4, Black Flag, and like Origins seems to be okay, but it's going
I
like
think
3 is where it started to go downhill for me at
your
least.
annoyance is not sequels. It's the difference between is this a version 2 or an actual new game? So something like I'm trying to find a good one that doesn't really feel like a sequel. It's just like a 2.0 of it, like BioShock.
Yeah, Bioshock
It wasn't really a sequel. It was just 2.0.
Bioshock 2 was the
Same.
one that was underwater, I believe, right?
Yeah, it was in the same place. It was in Rapture again.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been, in my mind, it could have been DLC.
Yeah, but it was just mostly underwater.
But I have to state that I hate BioShock. I hate the entire series. I hate everything about it.
Really?
Yeah, I've tried every I bought BioShock 1 when it came out. I returned it the next day and went, this game is shit. And returned it. I
I
spent all night, I beat it. I went, this game was garbage. And went back into the store. I went, this game is shit. And I'm returning it.
I liked Bioshock and Bioshock Infinite. I thought Infinite was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Oh, I couldn't even get through it. I was like, this is garbage. Series is fucking stupid.
So, so then what's your opinion about Vermintide? Vermintide 2?
I think Vermintide 2 is much better than Vermintide 1. I think where they had problems with 1, they did a great job fixing in 2. They made while the subclasses I think are meh, there are some that are okay, there are some that are not. I appreciate them putting it in there. I think the elves melee build should be tweaked a little bit, but that's a patching thing. But I think the idea of having different subclasses is better. But if I had to pick, I'd rather them added more characters.
Will, what's your opinion?
Vermintide 2 is great. I do really like the way the loot is rewarded to you. I don't think we should be getting a box or a chest or something like
What?
that. I'd rather just get the loot straight up in my face as like 3 random things.
Back to the loot
Like,
boxes. I agree.
yeah. I don't know why they have them in there. I guess it was the only thing they could come up with to show the player, like, oh look, here's your rewards and your little chesty poo.
I thought
Just
they
give me
did
like
I thought they did a great job with the first one, where it was like you rolled dice into a tin can or like a
that
bowl, and
that system. Unless you're playing it on the highest difficulty, which you get the best chance for the
right.
best rewards from, you get shafted in the ass
That's
over and
true.
over and over
I
again.
mean,
And then you
they
have
could
like,
expand on it. I like the visual of it and the idea
oh
behind
yeah,
it. They just
visual's
need to
great,
extend on it or expand on
but
it.
it's just like what would have been cooler for me was you have the dice roll in the pan and then, like the dice has symbols on it or whatever. It doesn't matter what you roll; it's still just random what you get.
Yeah.
Just have it that way. I'd be less pissed off of having to have RNG before more RNG because you can't say I want. So since I played Saltspire throughout the first game pretty much entirely, I was getting stuff for him, but I couldn't choose specifically what I wanted. So
Fair.
having that RNG of like, okay, now I have to roll dice. Okay, the dice is rolled. Now, okay, so I'm getting something for Saltspire. That's another level of RNG of like what it's gonna be because it
Yeah.
has to. I just
It does make sense that you get stuff for your character you're playing, but then at the same time, like Vermintide 2, what they did is that everyone can use pretty much anything the other person is using, certain things, or you
yeah.
just don't get it, which is great because I mostly play, the elf, and in the first one, I feel like I always got dwarf shit and mercenary shit, and it was very frustrating because the crafting in that game was really difficult, whereas the crafting in Vermintide 2 is so much better. So much better.
It's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
It's just I think overall I think they did a good job because the I like the special abilities each player or each character has. I think they have a specific role and I think they do them well. I don't think it made the game easier. If anything, it made them a little more difficult because you have to like almost time them or save them for specific things. The chaos spawn is the most broken thing in any fucking game. That thing can go fuck itself. Um, I like the new addition to certain like the chaos spawn and the other race, the Norse guys. Like I thought that was pretty cool. So I like it. Can't I can see why some people wouldn't like it because the game is definitely unforgiving and sometimes there's some bullshittery involved. But
You know, I'm sitting here thinking, I think the real problem is there are certain sequels that are so bad that taint every other sequel. Because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking of like StarCraft 2 is really good.
yeah, StarCraft. I mean,
I'm
both
looking at
StarCraft.
like I'm just looking at all the twos in here. I'm like, there's a lot of really good games that are like the second in the series.
But
So
then
what is
Diablo
making us
3.
piss on sequels? Like even if you go past two, if you just look at sequels,
I
like what's making us aggravating about it?
I
It's
don't think. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't think it's so much video game sequels. I think it's like movie sequels.
Yeah,
well
I think
that
that's
would
true. I think that's
that I agree. There's a lot of bad movie sequels. Like I'm thinking like video game sequels. There really aren't that many that are like
because Divinity 2 is
awful.
really good too, actually. Divinity Original Sin 2 is really fucking good. Speaking of which, I want to fucking play that again. Because that's a
Well, we
fucking.
need to finish.
Yeah,
We didn't
well,
even finish
exactly.
that
Yeah, we
one.
got to get everyone back together and play that.
Um, but
That game
yeah,
makes me sleepy.
I'm on the same page as Pat. Like I can't really think of any sequels that I just thought were god awful.
Well, Devil May Cry
Um,
2 is pretty bad.
I've never played a Devil May Cry game.
Oh,
But see, the
they're pretty
problem is
fun.
like when you weigh that against, so you're gonna take Devil May Cry and then you weigh that against The Witcher 2. Witcher 2 is amazing.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Like I can't find a lot of games that I thought were just like straight up garbage as a sequel. Now with movies, there are a bunch of movies that are
True.
straight up garbage, and I feel like the movies are just a cash grab in.
Well, I think it was just more of the lines of like I wanted to discuss sequels because Vermintide 2 is out now and we've been playing that. There's, well then what about what's the game? Destiny 2. Do you think that that game was good or do you think that they kind of ruined it for that? I never played a Destiny game, was never really into it.
It's Destiny has its shooting down because Bungie knows how to make an FPS.
Mm-hmm.
What they don't know how to make is an RPG, MMO light game, which is what they touted that as initially. It was MMO light. They said.
Okay.
Then eventually they're like, no. It's not. It's not MMO at all. It's not. It's like it is when you have a hub area that you can meet random people,
Right.
see them as their character. Like that's only really MMOs do that. No other like if it's gonna be a multiplayer co-op game, it's usually up to like 4 people, and then you just see like Diablo 3 is MMO light-ish because you can just go into a random game with 3 strangers and stuff like that, and be in the same hub and do things.
Yeah. Diablo 3
S-
is one of those sequels that I think they fucked up on, especially because they had like 10 years of working on it.
but
Just depends on if you care for the story or not.
De-
That's what
Des-
that game is.
Destiny from the beginning suffered from a lot of shit. They lost their composer eventually, Marty
Mm.
O'Donnell, which just fucking I don't know how they fucked that up. But
'Cause
they
got
also had
cocky.
no. It's because they well. Here's the funny thing. Bungie wanted to get away from Microsoft because they wanted to have more control over their development, their game development, and so they thought it was a great idea to sign a 10-year contract with fucking Activision. I don't know how that equates at all to what they wanted. I don't know how they could sit there and be like, "Oh, this is going to be so much better than Microsoft." They I don't know whose decision that was, but it definitely was a forced one. You could just tell that it was a forced one because with what O'Donnell went through right before he retired, they were being such spiteful, vindictive assholes to him because he was telling like, listen, this just isn't right. Like we can't do it this way. We should be doing it this way. You know it's better to do it this way. And they're just like, and like
So
just
do you
fucking
think it was
disregarding him.
they just got cocky and just didn't care, or do you think they just like blatantly didn't think it would matter?
They tripped. Their major mistake was signing with Activision because if they wanted a good amount of control as a developer and
Mhm.
over the development of their fucking franchise, you don't sign a contract with a company that doesn't give a shit about the community that they want to build around it and their consumers. Like that company does not give a shit with how many Call of Duty games they spew out over a decade. They just reuse assets. That's what they did. And the game had the first one had a bunch of rewrites with its story. What was it like a year and a half into its development? They still didn't have a story written and settled on. They rewrote it like 3 times, And you
That's
can't have that. You need to
no.
have your story ready to go because no one else can work off of. Like you have to have that story so the people that make the storyboards can work off of it and have scenes so that people who are reading it can be like, oh, that's a really cool place. I'm gonna paint that place and get that landscape done to inspire the artist, and then the artist can work. No one can do their work if you don't have a story set for it. Just like a basic idea of what you want, and then write all the script out later and everything.
So that's what you think happened with Destiny 2 is that they just didn't have their story down and then they released it with all the mechanics
That
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 function.
was one thing. What they did was by the end of Destiny's lifespan, over the what like 3 years, three and a half years that it was
Yeah.
out, they eventually had a good game by the end. If that game was like that from the get-go, people would have loved it. People would have loved it, and then they would have just added expansions to it and DLCs, and nobody would have asked for anything more from it. But it's got to be Activision. I can't see even Bungie being so stupid as to just cut really good ideas out of a game to try and sell it later on to
Right.
their community and their consumer base. And in the second one, they took a lot of the great things that Destiny 1 had in it out. And it felt like vanilla Destiny again. And you were just hoping, like, okay, maybe with the next, like, the first expansion or DLC, they'll implement all this shit. No, it took. There was like a fucking literal boycott of the Eververse system because it was so heavily pushing you towards microtransactions and spending money on cosmetic items and these loot boxes that could have ships in them. I don't know why the loot boxes had ships in them in the first place. They're not. You don't need like
The ships are something. It's just they were
it's
dumb.
another like cosmetic thing, and you
Yeah.
don't fly the
I
ships yourself
just
or do anything. But
which is I don't
the
like.
first game, you could get ships from just playing the game. They would drop as rewards for you, like doing a nightfall strike or just doing heroic strikes, just doing that for like a couple hours, like 2 3 hours. You could get like one or two ship drops if you were lucky enough.
Hmm.
And they had strike specific weapons and gear that you could get for all the different classes. They had like high score chasing in Nightfalls and in heroic strikes where you can, depending upon like the chain of kills that you got or like what weapon you used to kill enemies with supers and how long you could keep the combo going, you would get an even higher score and you could go for the high score or whatever. I don't know if there were leaderboards for that stuff. There probably were within the community, but it was something. It was a fun thing that they added to it. They didn't have that in the beginning of Destiny 2. They didn't have the heroic strike specific weapons and armor pieces. They didn't have ships dropping as regular rewards for just doing certain activities. They added some new things like the lost sectors, which is a great idea, but it's just a hole in the ground. They're all holes in the ground that you go into. They open up into a slightly wide area. You kill a captain level enemy there. You open a chest, and then you fucking leave. Like there's nothing to them. There's nothing interesting. There's no interesting lore to find in the game anymore. They took ghost shells out, so all the lore is given to you, which is fine, but it's just like it's not even presented anymore. There's no way. There's still no way to go and look up the lore. Like people wanted some place to go and just read the
But
stories,
that's just
and
stupid. I'm sorry, but that's just I
it's
don't like the idea of playing a game that doesn't have the lore built into it. It's just it's dumb. Like
You have to do it the right way.
yeah.
You can do the Star Wars thing where you have the codex, or the Mass Effect
yeah.
have the codex full of shit, but then
Mm-hmm.
you experience it while it's going on. So if you wanted to know, like, you didn't need to know what was the problem with the Krogan and the you didn't have to know the Krogans wrong, but you could go in there and read about it, and then you also experience in the story. So it was fine to do lore that way. That was my problem with Destiny 1 and why I stopped. Was the game made no fucking sense. And if I have to go somewhere else to figure it out, I'm not interested. Make
Yeah,
it part of your game.
they were doing too many things. They were like, we have a phone app. Like, I don't want to use the fucking phone app. I want to play the game. Why do I need to use the phone app?
So I'm gonna go back to WoW as a because I played WoW for many years and I have a lot of experience with playing the game and all the lore and all that shit with it. But like when I needed to know something, I'd go to Wowhead, and then Wowhead would tell me what I need to do to kill a specific monster to get a specific piece of item or whatever that I needed, materials, whatever. If I wanted to know the lore, I would literally go and do the quests, read up on the quests, read the actual like documentation that's in the game, and if there was anything that was in the game that I couldn't get to or anything like that, then I would go and I would find it myself. Go to, Blizzard's website or go to Wikipedia or something or the forums. the fact that you have this game that is heavily relying on lore and not have it in the game, or a multiplayer game or an MMO and not have the ability to queue up together in the game, to me makes no fucking sense.
Well, I
And
think that's where you started wrong. Is I don't think Destiny gives a shit about the lore. I don't think it's the point of the game. I think it's an additive for people, but I don't think it's the focus of their game.
which is
Well,
wrong because they could have such a good fucking lore. It sounds like a cool lore to me.
it is. It has some really cool stories in it, and I would agree with Pat on that. But they reference shit all the time in the game, and even in Destiny 2. The funny thing about Destiny 2 was there was a writer came in, and she pretty much just got rid of the old lore and said, "Oh, that's folklore. That's not lore. That's
What do you mean?
folklore." So it's just made up stories and fairy tales for young kids. So the lore community within the Destiny community had a shit fit with her. And it's like, who the fuck are you to come in and tell us that all the work and time we put into like deciphering your fucking riddles of stories and your little puzzles of stories, you're going to tell us that doesn't matter anymore? It's bullshit. It doesn't, like, none of that was actually really true, and you're going to tell us the real truth. And so they went with one way and then they fucked it up, so they go, all right, well, let's just tell them that it doesn't fucking matter and just do something else and get. It's like with Disney with the Star Wars canon, like, oh yeah,
No, that
we're
doesn't
just gonna
exist anymore.
we're just gonna cherry pick specific important events
That's not
from the
how this
original
works.
trilogies and then forget everything else.
That's not
because
how this
because they're like, oh, well, we can just make money on making new books, we can make money on making comics, and guess what, there's a fucking Destiny comic now. So that's probably, in my opinion, the main reason why they wanted to push people away from the old lore, because they were going to start to write new lore and shove it down people's throats through comic books, like digital comic books, or even just regular books.
Blizzard did that with Overwatch, and it made sense because it was a new game and it wasn't out yet. And then when it came out, they would release every week because it was new and like that. And I thought that was really cool because that's awesome to see the lore of a specific character. They released a short comic or a short video about that character as it was released. That's good. And then they had that information on their website, so it's like you can go to it and see all that stuff. But they also had it in the game. Like they would
Yeah.
have conversations with each other and stuff like that, or you'd play a character and it was like a little short about it. Like you still have to have it in the game as much as you have it outside of the game. I think lore is extremely important for keeping. It's not for everyone, and I get that, and it can be boring and stuff like that, but it should still be there because it'll still grab people's attentions. Like the whole concept between Illidan and Malfurion and WoW, I thought was a fucking and Tyrande. It's fucking amazing. They're brothers, and Tyrande used to like or was in love with Illidan, and Illidan was imprisoned wrongfully and actually wasn't a bad guy, but Malfurion imprisoned him and then took Tyrande. It's just like, what? Like stuff like that. It's juicy and awesome.
See, my problem with the Destiny
I
thing
could
is, so
be
yeah,
completely wrong about the lore, but I know they're brothers.
Star Wars,
Sorry.
Star Wars changed the canon.
Which
But
is
the reason,
why.
but you could see why they did it. They wanted to tell stories, and by the time they took over it, there was 40 years of stories already happening between when the Return of the Jedi ended. Even before that, you can go to the original Star Wars. There's already started things going on from A New Hope forward. So they just wanted a fresh reset. I can respect that because you bought the series, and you have 40 years of lore that you can't do without recasting people. I can't accept it in Destiny because you own the franchise and it's been like 4 years. You can't then reset because you go, oh shit.
I mean,
So
a lot of the
reset.
stuff, a lot of the lore of Star Wars 2 that, like in the books and like that, were way better than the fucking movies, in my opinion.
Yes, they were.
So like that's my gripe about it. It's like you can, is it just because you need, like, you can still make more money. It's not going to stop you,
No.
those previous books and stories existing, from
I
writing
don't lose
more.
the money.
It's, of course it's for the money.
That's
They,
absolutely
they,
for the-
are you kidding? They're putting, do you know how many Star Wars books they come out with already to expand
No.
upon their universe and stuff like that? They're going to be giving us side movies about shit that no one Rogue Squadron, we're going to get a Rogue Squadron movie. We're going to get Han Solo as a young, like, who gives a shit if he's young? Like, he's still we already know that character. Why, and he's dead now. Spoiler alert, in that first movie. He fucking dies.
Yeah.
So he's inconsequential to the story going on. Why are you writing about a dead character that has no impact on the movies anymore? Expand upon the characters you still have fucking alive, because apparently they're dropping like flies.
Yeah.
And like it,
Well,
and
Spoilers.
spoilers, more Star Wars characters die.
no
It
way.
it's just
See-
like Rogue One was disappointing to me because like I was sitting there and I'm watching. I'm like, why am I watching this? And I was like, am I interested in these characters? No. Like,
It
why?
ruined
Why?
that.
Because they're all going to die at the end of it. And like, this is just, I'm watching a story I already know enough about that I don't need to. I don't need to watch this. Like, why am I like? I have no need to watch this. If it were a book, I think it would have worked better as a book.
Yes, it would have been better as a book. It also ruined parts of A New Hope for me. So when I watch A New Hope with that in mind, it's not as good as a movie, as great as a movie. Because then you know straight off the bat the Princess Leia is just an idiot. Oh, we're on diplomatic mission. We watched your ship launch from this.
Don't give me that jibber jabber, princess. I saw you come out of that other ship as we blew it up.
Like really, the point of like when you watch A New Hope the first time, like without that, it made the Empire seem more evil, that they're attacking this ship over a planet. There's no there's like no reason for it. They're just attacking it. So it made them be the bad guys. Now it's like when I watch them, like, yeah, you guys are a bunch of dicks. You deserve to be attacking you. You guys are a bunch of
We're flying because I need to go to another planet because
Also,
I'm a diplomat.
They state that you
It's like,
can't
what?
track people through hyperspace.
And
So
they
how do
did.
they track them through hyperspace?
I,
Oh, did I hit a
They
plot?
have space hounds.
plot hole.
listen,
Nope, they
But-
made a very big deal out of it that you couldn't track anyone,
Yeah,
and
you
they
can't.
broke it in the last movie and said, "Oh, yeah, we can track people. You have a tracking signal on the big ship that you have to take out." But that small ass Star Destroyer did not have that. So just tell me how you broke the lore to do a really shitty
And-
movie.
and another
help
thing,
us.
like another big thing that people had a bit of a hissy fit over was the fact that one character in the latest the Last Jedi movie jumped her ship into another one in order to destroy it.
Yep, that was dumb.
And people are like, wait a minute. If you can do that all along, why hasn't this tactic been used more and been seen more throughout? Like every ship about to blow up should just do that if they can.
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
have a Star Destroyer. I'll jump in here and blow it up. Done.
I'll just jump in the middle of everybody and I'll take other ships out with me and it'll make me blow up faster and then I'll kill everyone. like
See, if you take The Last Jedi as a sequel and had The Force Awakens as the first one, then I agree with you. Sequels are shit. Because that movie. All right, I will say that I really, really enjoyed Force Awakens. It had the perfect amount of nostalgia. The Last Jedi was like going to school for the first day as like in first grade and having the biggest kid in the school take your backpack, throw it in the garbage can, and then dump you in a garbage can and lock you in there for 9 hours. Like I saw my childhood hero be destroyed, be looking like a little bitch, and
Yeah, I
they
wasn't a
defended
fan
it as
of
a good movie choice.
I wasn't a fan of it. I could honestly, I could care less about it. It wasn't.
You take Luke Skywalker, my childhood hero, and you shit on him for 2 hours, and I sat there the entire time like, but Luke.
Yeah,
Well-
it's just him feeling sorry for himself and woe with me and all this self-pity bullshit. And like, you don't understand, Rey. You're not a Jedi. You'll never be a Jedi because the Jedi are dead, man.
you're just a duty head,
Yeah.
Ray.
Here's the
You're a
problem.
duty head.
And she's like, you're
So
sitting
you do
here.
this entire thing where he's sitting there, and then at the end Yoda comes, he's like, "You're an idiot. Wait, step back here." So for like 20 years, he's sat there alone, and Yoda's
Watching
like,
the universe
not
being
Not
ravaged
yet.
by the First
"Not
Order.
yet, not yet. Wait, okay, Luke,
that-
really?"
That's the thing.
Lightning out of the sky as a ghost.
That's the thing about the Jedi, though. They just sit and watch. They're the worst defenders of anything. They don't take action. They just sit and like jerk each other off in that
Well,
circle jerk
They
that
wait.
they have.
They wait until the bad guys take action. They're like, we can't do anything.
We
Can't do
don't know whether
anything.
he's Sith or not. We don't know for sure. He's literally tearing someone's flesh off and saying he can't
He's
wait to
flaying
use the
someone
dark side
alive.
more. And no. That's judging a book by its cover. Its cover. We gotta
And
take this one step at a
He's
time.
beheading
was Luke's
children.
problem?
They're like,
What color? What color are his eyes right now? They're blue. Okay, that Sith don't have blue eyes. They usually have yellow. So I'm inclined to think he's not a Sith. Like that. That's the
And
type
then
of shit they do.
what was Luke's problem? He went, I'm not waiting for this shit. I saw what's gonna happen. I'm gonna do it now. Wait, that's probably a bad idea. Now I'm the bad guy.
Yep.
I'm the bad guy.
Well,
now.
it's like I agree with you. They wait till it's too late. It's like, oh, Anakin's turning. Anakin's turning. No, he's fine. He's fine. He's fine. Everything's fine. And then all of a
Well,
sudden, he's losing his shit and murdering everyone behind their back, and everyone's like, "Well, I didn't see this coming." What do you mean?
Who could have seen that? And Mason was like, "Fucking me, asshole! I didn't like him from the start. He seemed like a little punk ass bitch, and now you're fucking telling me he's killing. What a surprise! He murdered all the younglings. Didn't see that one coming, did you, Yoda? You fucking wise piece of shit. Like everybody's like, Even Yoda's like, I don't know. My connection to the Force is it's pretty cloudy today. Got some gray clouds. Looks like it's gonna rain in my mind, my mind journal. I don't know why that could be. Maybe a fucking powerful ass Sith Lord is like sitting, I don't know, a couple blocks away from you and just fucking with you. None of them notice that. The entire Jedi Council's there. None of them is sensitive enough to know that they're being manipulated and fucked with, even when standing in his presence. Like, are you kidding me?
Nope.
Are you seriously fucking? What is this? What is it like? Was this Naruto where they can hide their killing intent so that they could be completely invisible from each other? That's the level of bullshit that we have right now. It is insane. And Pat, if you want to learn why Luke is that way, I can tell you that I'm pretty sure they wrote a book about it.
No, I'm not reading
It's
it.
part of the new extended universe, which is canon, to let you know. So you can enjoy a new canon story written and A-okayed by the Disney family, so that you
Luke
can
Skywalker's
have an
journey
understanding of why Luke is so puffy.
continues with him being married. I don't believe in anything else except for the Luke Skywalker story where he gets married to Mara Jade, has a kid, and becomes a Jedi Master. That's all I know.
He used to be a Jedi,
I know
right?
about the Solo twins.
He
I know about those.
He's a Jedi, right?
Yeah, he still is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm saying that facetiously
He's
and
yeah, he still is a
'cause
Jedi.
he's not doing anything because
See, in my mind, when I think
he's a
of what happened-
teenager. He's an angsty teenager in that movie, and it fucking ruined him. And I completely agree. And
He played a Jedi Master to a T. He sat back and did nothing.
good point.
That's exactly what they do.
but see that
I learned this from my
why
master.
like the original like expanded universe was so good is because he didn't. His first
I know.
group, he created another Darth Vader and went, oh well, I fucked that one up. Let me try again, and keeps going back at it. The saga of the Solo twins was perfect.
It was
What
good.
happened with the real Ben Solo? Or no, it was Ben Skywalker, right? It was Anakin Solo.
Anakin
was
Solo and
perfect.
Ben Skywalker.
What happened to Chewbacca? Perfect. Drop a moon on that
Yeah,
bitch.
Chewbacca gets
That's how you
fucking
kill
crushed
Chewbacca.
by a moon.
So
Where is that movie?
It's the only way they can kill him.
Can't.
No, he gets shot in the arm and winged, and is a bitch for the rest of it.
But I mean, like, that was how Chewbacca goes. He saves Han's son and gets crushed by a moon. And then Han becomes resentful because you killed Chewbacca. Because we all know there was something going on between the two of them.
Yeah, of
I
course,
want
they're
I want to
lovers.
see that. I want to see Chewie so strong in like a fatherly love type of moment where like Solo's son, he sees as his own son, and he's so strong that he summons the power to fight against the fucking moon that's coming to crush him. And
He's
for
just
he
holding
does it
it
for
to-
long enough, he's like, okay, and then he just gets crushed, and like, he has the power to hold a moon up. That is fucking amazing.
It's just not even that. It's just they needed an epic way. The people that wrote that did a good job because they knew that they couldn't punk out Chewbacca in any other way. Like, Chewbacca can't just get, like, winged or shot in the head by, like, a random arbitrary shot of a laser. You know, just some kind of thing like, oh, and Chewie's dead. Because that
No.
would be bullshit. He can't be killed by, like, a Sith or anything like that because he's never in a position to be facing one of them. So that would be
Nope.
bullshit, too.
No, in the books he does. In the books he
Yeah.
does. In the Thrawn trilogy he does, trying to protect Leia. He ends up fighting like a lot of like weird ass shit. Those I forget what they're called.
Yeah,
the,
but they're not...
like the bug people.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
come
the
after him.
Oh, the-
Genobans.
Yeah,
Geno's and
Genobans or
whatever.
Yusan Vong or whatever. There's like
Yeah,
that
Yeah, but
group
they
as well.
they don't
Like,
have like
he's-
lightsabers or like that. They probably have like vibroblades and shit. Like
Well, they have force infused stuff that you saw
and they were
long.
stealthy. I think it was a good way to doing it. I think my biggest
go
problem
stealth
with
on
it
a Yeti and
is,
see what happens. He'll fucking tear you in half.
He
I mean,
takes a dump on you and then eats you.
Yeah.
I originally was fine with what they were doing because I thought they just weren't going to recast, but now they're making a solo movie, you're fine with recasting. So you should just went with the expanded universe and moved on.
Yeah, they definitely ruined it. But as I was saying, like
So
dropping a moon was a great. I think that was a good way of writing because they couldn't. They kind of needed to kill Chewbacca because of the situation, but they did it in a very strategically well written way because he didn't get punked out, and it was like, well, I mean, two planets technically collided, so no one can really survive that. So yeah, he's dead. But that was in like a comic, right? It wasn't in a book.
I think it was in one of the books.
I think it was in a book, yeah.
I thought it was in one of the comics.
But like that, what a fucking amazing way to go out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how did
Exactly.
Chewbacca die? He was fucking crushed by a moon. They threw a
They
moon at him.
they literally pulled gravitational. They gravitationally pulled the moon to him, and
So
he couldn't.
We
do
can't
it.
stop him with lasers and grenades and bombardments from ships in space. What do we do? Throw the moon at him. What? What? You're insane. No, do it. It fucking works. And you're like, oh my god.
I just imagine hearing like you're like just like if this was a movie, it just pans out to where to space, no sound, and then the planets collide, still no sound. You just
Yeah, just his
So-
call.
so
just
echo.
like his soul escaping the universe, and everyone it's like the scream heard throughout the world or the universes, and then everyone rallies together because they
And like,
just
No,
what
but the
would
best part about
happen?
that was there wasn't. Han hated his son because of it. That Chewbacca died because of
Oh,
his
it
son.
would have so much better if they
It
just
started
rallied.
an entire arc of like his son like teetering on the dark side because he let Chewbacca die. Like that was perfect. It was a great way of doing it.
Yeah, that's. I just wish that it was just like everyone just like loses their shit and gets like just Kaioken times a million. They all go Super Saiyan and fly into space and just wreck shit. Not us,
So-
but like
Something came out this week that a game came out this week that's been kind of controversial and has gotten a lot of reviews.
okay.
And I think the only reason people are talking about it is because streamers are making it popular and the game doesn't warrant it. So for people that don't know what I'm talking about Sunless Sea. Or not Sunless
no,
Sea.
so not Sunless Sea. Sunless Sea
Not
is
Sunless
good.
Sea. Sea of Thieves. So
Oh, yeah.
one of our friends plays it and has
Yes.
been telling me about kind of his adventures on it. I've done a lot of research because I debated buying it because I've heard so many good things about it. And then the reviewers of it, their reviews are totally different than the streamers' reviews for it. And one of the things that the best review I saw for it was the game is a lot of fun, except there's nothing to do in it that you don't create yourself. And
Yeah.
our friend that plays it said the same thing. The game's all about you doing it.
Which I'm all for that because that's kind of like the whole Minecraft mentality. It's like here's some blocks, go do something with it, get out of my fucking face, which is cool. But at the same time, in a game like where you're pirates and you're traveling in a ship and
You're just missing
captain-
one key thing that Minecraft has that this game does not.
crafting.
Modding.
No, well, besides modding, there's a
Microsoft?
PvE environment in it. There's a PvE environment in Minecraft.
Well, you can fight off skeletons and you can even fight a giant kraken as well.
If I'm a pirate, I want loot. So why aren't I attacking merchant ships that don't exist?
Well, if you're gonna be pirate,
Why am
the
I
idea
fighting
of
other pirate? I don't want to fight other pirates.
It
I
should
want to
be-
fight merchant ships.
Yeah.
What about like a ghost ship that you can go on and
Yeah.
get ghost treasure?
Who doesn't want some ghost treasure?
But you can't go to Target.
But, like,
and buy
okay, so-
anything.
So yeah, so that's something that pirates did do. They attacked merchant ships and stole stuff and everything like that. They also drank rum. They sailed. They buried treasure. And for the most part, the game's got that.
Wait, so you could just drink rum and bury treasure? What's the difference compared
So-
to life?
The thing I was thinking,
I'm
Like
a
that
nothing.
made me
pirate.
think about it, made me talk about it, is what's the difference between this and something like Star Citizen?
Well, what do you mean?
But just general concept.
Star
Star
Citizen
Citizen's gonna be the
is
same. Make your own adventure.
Well, is Sea of Thieves like I don't really know much about it. I've watched maybe about like 20 minutes at most of altogether of Sea of Thieves, and it reminds me of Black Wake. I don't know if you ever we played.
It does. It reminds
Yeah.
me of Black.
Yeah, it's just a better. It's like Fortnite version of Black Wake.
Yes.
Uh, the thing is that is it trying to be a simulator, or is it just a dick
No.
around game?
It's just
The
dick
way our
around.
friend said it, it was they gave you here's an open world. There's some stuff in it. I'll see you later. You just do your own thing.
So you just,
Well-
it's just so you faff about.
I mean, was that hidden that the game was going to be like that from
I
the general
don't
public?
think so. I don't.
they-
I don't think so. I think they were straight up front about. I don't think they told anyone what it was going to be about. They did the approach of we're not going to say anything, and when you get it, you're going to get it and move on. They didn't do the No Man's Sky approach of I'm going to promise you everything and then give you nothing.
Well, they
and
should
wait
just have a
till you don't
roadmap.
Have everything.
They should have a roadmap at least. So
I don't
it's-
think they did that. So it's not like Star Citizen had like a full
I-
roadmap that you can know what's going to happen.
I mean, if you're going to stick to that as your schedule, because wasn't Star Citizen, wasn't that like kickstarted too, or
it
was
was
that?
kickstarted, yeah.
Yeah, so they're obligated to do that, like that they must do, or they have to give the money back.
Mhm.
So they had to do that. I don't think that is something that necessarily needs to be done. I don't think the public needs to see the roadmap because they don't have anything to do with it other than whether they want to purchase it or not. And seeing a roadmap and seeing what they're working on and stuff, that doesn't really interest me because that may drastically change by the end of the game. That's why like alphas and betas, like I want to get a feel for the game in an alpha or something like that, but I know it's going to change. I know it's already changed by the time I get my hands on that, and most people don't.
I think
They don't understand the limitation of what demos can show you and what they actually mean. Like they just don't wrap their minds around it.
I
and
think
they get
if I'm
pissed
gonna
off.
spend money on a game that's in early access, I'd like to know where they're going with it and what their plans are.
This is not an early access. This is a full release.
Yeah, so the thing is that I think
So the reason I was bringing it up is I wanted to bring up this idea.
$50, right?
It's 60.
It's not
60.
fucking worth the money. I mean, right now it's not worth the money.
Minecraft was 20
So
when
the reason I
you
was
could
bringing
first
it
get
up
it.
Oh, I was just playing it
is
for free when it was
I think
free.
there's a lot of games going on that are not good, but because people stream them, they become popular and they make money.
Okay, so what you're saying is that because of the fad and the whole
Yeah,
what was
because I mean we talked about
surviving
it.
surviving
Was it
Mars
Tuesday?
was another one of those games that
Wasn't it Tuesday? We were both like, we should buy like something to see because not so. Wow,
Sea of
you
Thieves.
should buy Sea of Thieves.
I
'cause
think you
everyone's
need to
playing
buy
it.
Sunless Sea and play it because it
I
seems
have
to be on your
Sunless Sea.
mind.
That's what I did when we were at Disney. I played Sunless Sea every night.
You were at Disney and you played back at the hotel.
Yeah, back at the hotel when we had to like pretend we were sleeping. That's what I did. I played Sunless Sea.
I think I so yeah, like really popular streamers definitely help with games. They're essentially like a promotional tool, and that's why they always get like the ability to jump into a game before it's even released, like closed alphas and stuff like that. And I think that's great. I think it's helpful because it helps the streamer, but it also helps the developer, and I think that's a really good symbiotic relationship that you could have that both sides benefit from it, and I think that's great. The problem is how people react to the streamers playing those games, and whether or not like the community needs to know or do a better job at like, no, this is a really bad game, or the way that you're going about this game should be adjusted. It's a fun game, I like it, but for $60 I'm getting nothing, so you need to do something. And if their goal is to produce more things, that's fine. But I feel like from what I hear, it's like, you know, our friend as well as other things I've been reading, it's about 3 to 4 hours of content for $60 right now. And then after that, it's like maybe you can get a bunch of friends together and dick off.
But like if you read the reviews for it, the reviews for this game are like is a straight up gambit. So I'm looking at it right now. There are 312 5 out of 5 reviews.
Okay. Out of how many reviews?
107. So I don't, it doesn't give me total numbers. So I'm just going to go through it. There's 312 5 out of 5, 107 4 out of 5, 85 3 out of 5, 123 2 out of 5, and 219 1 out of 5.
Total. What's the total number?
I'll do the math.
Oh, they don't
Yeah,
give
do
you
the
a
math,
total,
you accountant.
They don't give you the total number?
No, because the Microsoft Store is stupid.
Oh, it's a Microsoft Store. Yeah, no, they're fucking dumb.
So there's 846 reviews.
Okay, so then roughly 2/3 says that it's fantastic, and then a third says meh.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff in here, like when you read it, is the titles are amazing, great game, game of the year,
Game of the
perfect.
year.
Yeah, this one is game of the year.
Well, that
I love this
person's
game. I love the feeling of being a pirate and sun in the sea. This game is epic.
Sea of
Game
Thieves.
of the
Stop
year.
saying Sunless Sea. It's not Sunless Sea.
Sorry,
Goddammit.
sorry. Sea of Thieves.
Just call it
Just
sauce.
call it this game.
This game. 10 out of 10. This game is a masterpiece. So
Yeah,
like,
see?
You had a review up to 5. Where did the 10 come from? You can't multiply it.
he multiplied it, but
Well,
see, the reason I'm
He
bringing
gets
this
a
up is
negative.
I think they're only like this because there's people streaming it.
I
I
think the
think people are
popularity is from
streaming
the
it.
streamer. I don't think it's because of the streamer where they have these. I think, I don't know. I kind of disagree with that. I think the streamer helps promote it and get it out there to people. But the game looks fun. Hold on, I gotta sneeze. Okay.
The best game I've ever played. Best game to date. This game is amazing.
All right, I'm back.
Period.
Whew,
You're a
I did
pirate.
it.
The best game.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Yeah, I sneezed. I muted myself. I didn't want to blow anyone's eardrums. Um, I mean, I had a lot of fun with Black Wake. My only issue with Black Wake was that it was limited on what you could do, and the game was janky because it wasn't finished.
People sucked at that game.
Well, yeah, the game was. Yes, people sucked at it. I sucked at it. The game is fun and enjoyable, and I can see that type of game being fun and enjoyable, and I want to play that kind of game because it's a game that would be fantastic to have in my repertoire of games that I have. The problem
And
is
I
that-
quote, "Will anyone besides me load the fucking cannon?"
I did do that.
I like shooting them.
These games are rainy day games. They're games that
Yes.
like,
Yes.
man, I really don't know what I want to play. Maybe my friends want to play something, and then your friends are like, I don't know, I'm in the mood for something, but I just don't know. Hey, let's
Right.
just hop in here and screw around. Maybe we'll think of something else we want to play. These Black Wake and
Sea of
whatever
Thieves.
Pirates Day Out.
Baby's Day Out, the pirates.
yeah, but for
I
pirates.
guess they get Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Two men and a pirate.
They're games that are like rainy day games. Like we also dabbled in Heroes of Hammerwatch as well. That's not a game that I want to just like sit there and play every day for hours and hours and hours. It's like every once
The
in a
game's
while
also
let's
not
hop into it.
$60.
No,
Black
it's not
Wake was
$60.
$10.
And the main thing is
30, 10,
YouTube had a big problem with content creators not disclosing well enough that they were sponsored to play the game, and their
Yeah.
reactions are money based. A lot of these streamers really, I mean, they do a better job now, but people see them having fun, and they're getting paid to have that fun, so it is much more fun for them than us. So I think it's more streamers need to be actually honest with the developers. You don't have to worry about hurting their feelings or anything. Trust me on that.
They don't have
Anonymous
feelings.
people on the internet are going to fucking rake them over the coals. It's okay to say, well, I really don't think there's enough here to warrant the $60 price, and let them know, and tell them in like an email or something directly, like, listen, I played your game, I had a good time with it, but I think it's lacking enough content to warrant your price for it. I think if you had like maybe this or this, shoot some fucking things back to them, ideas, not just I'm going to take your money, me going to put on Smile and make other people get this game and play it because I'm going to make it look like I'm having the time of my life. And
I do agree with that, actually. I think it's false advertisement kind of thing. And I think it's the responsibility of the community that's watching them to be like, they're having fun because A, we're watching them and they enjoy streaming or whatever, but they're essentially getting paid double because they're playing this game for this developer, helping them out, so they're getting a kickback, and they're also getting paid to have some kind of content for the people that are watching them. So they have to put up kind of like a show or face to do all this, and that's not the streamer's fault. That's not the developer. It's just how it works, and it's up to the community to sit there and it's hard to sit there and say that you got to stop the streamer from being like that because that's wrong. It's false advertising. And YouTube needs to do this, and Twitch needs to do this. I think it's the responsibility of the gaming community to go, okay, well, Forsen was playing this game, and he says it was the best game ever, and I disagree. Especially for $60, that's insane. Heroes is $12.
If you're relying on the community that the streamers have to be that responsible, that they reflect the streamer that they
True.
watch. Like the streamer allows them to do certain things within their chat to certain limitations because they have rules and everything like that and guidelines for the community. They need to like let them know, like, listen, I'm sponsored for this, and do it multiple times throughout however long they're going to stream it. Like, listen, this is a sponsored stream. I'm having fun with it right now. We're kind of getting into it. And then at the end of it, give an actual like that stream, like a stream review, a short summary of how they feel that the game is, whether they feel it's worth the price that they have set for it, and like whether it's better to play by yourself, with friends, or a mix or something that you can just pick up and play on a rainy day, and stuff like that. They need to start doing that, because eventually it's going to get to the point where if they do it's just bad. It's very gray. Twitch will have their back for a certain amount, but eventually they're just going to throw them under the bus. They're not going to be there for them. YouTube isn't going to be there for them. And the developers can go at them as well if they feel that they've negatively affected their sales. They went after like Jim from the Jimquisition.
Oh yeah, they
Love
go
that
after
guy.
left, right, and center.
Fucking fantastic dude. He's so great with his reviews because he does not care about the person crying at the end of it. He doesn't give a shit. If the game's shit, he'll tell you it's shit. He was getting sued by this one developer who gave him the copy of the game, sent him a direct email.
Oh
said,
yeah, I
hey,
remember that.
I want to give you a copy of my game. Can you do a review on it? He's like, yeah, hell yeah, sure. So he did a review of it, and he's like, this game is terrible. This game is bad. And he's like, I know they gave me this copy and everything, but I'm honest in my reviews and da da da. And then he tried to sue him over the
Which is
negative review.
wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
He
wrong.
lost that case. He lost that case on every point he was trying to sue him on. But
It still
like-
was the whole thing. He still had to go through it, which is wrong.
Yeah.
If there should be, it's a tough situation because when you're a streamer, you're relying on developers as well as your community to kind of help you out and pay for your salary, and that means that you have to put on a face, you have to do a dance, and you have to.
No.
And I agree
It
with
depends
you.
on how you take it.
I think that if someone is coming to you to do a review, and you be honest about it, that's critiquing, and that is not that's not an offense. That's not slander or anything like that. So you can't do anything about that. But it's just if they're giving you a free copy of the game, they just want you to play it. It's hard to. I mean, I'm one of those people that is just going to be blunt no matter what. I enjoy it or I don't enjoy it. And
Yeah.
that's how it should be, but maybe that's not how it's always going to be because, developers are going to they pay you. So it's not that simple. But I don't know. I don't think it's worth it for the money. I think it's just one of those things that, like, if I'm providing a community information, I would absolutely be honest, and I would not want to be like, oh yeah, no, this game's great when it's absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it just comes down to me. I wouldn't want to be deceitful when it
Exactly.
comes to stuff like that. If it's a sponsored thing, be like, listen, these are the rules. If you want me to have like a sponsored stream for your game, like you let me just do it like I regularly do it. I voice my opinion about it, and I'm not going to lie and like fake,
Yeah.
enjoyment and whatever. I'm going to be entertaining for my viewers and whatnot. And I'm going to be honest with them about it. And if we can't have it done that way, then the sponsorship's not going to happen. I'm not going to trick them into buying your game because whatever you think
For
I'll be able to
reasons.
draw in more money for you. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are probably I would think the majority of people might do that, but there are definitely so many people that don't give a shit about that. It's
Right.
like you're like deliberately misleading and misinforming your community who built you up to where you are. Like, you're nothing without your community. Like, absolutely nothing. You need to build it up. They're there. They're the ones that support you, and then you're just gonna try and trick them into giving you getting more money. Like, you've already got the money. Fucking. I
Yeah,
don't know.
no, you
It's-
never want to be deceitful. You never want to trick people into anything because then karma's gonna bite you in the ass. So, anyway, so what's any final thoughts on anything, in regards to anything we discussed, before we close out the podcast, the episode?
Sequels aren't necessarily going to be terrible. I think that if you already have a game that people are fans of, and you're going to make number 2,
Mhm.
take the first game as the foundation, tweak it here and there, change a few things. Don't do huge, drastic changes to any specific mechanic. Add to it. Don't take away from it. Add to it. Don't totally rework it. Just go with what you have. It worked. People want more of that. And just limit it to just a trilogy. If you want to go for a trilogy, just limit it to that trilogy and then just fucking end it there. Don't need any more than 3. When it comes to games that are coming out that people are excited for and streamers are really, hyping up and say, oh man, this game is so amazing, Pirate's Life for me and all that shit, really take a good look at it. See what price they're going to be selling it for.
At
And
least wait.
just wait until the fucking game comes out. Don't pre-order anything. It's not a good thing to do. I've done it. I've been disappointed quite a few times. Pre-ordering is a terrible thing to do. The extra stuff they give you is not worth any money at all. It's all garbage. And just streamers are having fun because they're trying to be entertaining. They're trying to make it seem like they're having the greatest time in their life, and don't take that with a grain of salt.
So yeah, I agree.
I agree with Will.
I mean, I brought up the whole sequel thing because there are some sequels that I'm just like, oh man, it just really ruined this series for me, and it's Assassin's Creed is one of those series that was ruined after the third one, and I couldn't get behind it anymore. Call of Duty, although they just, what it is, it's not even sequels. It's like they just keep pushing the envelope. It's like the second that come, you'll have a second one come out, and the second one's good, and they added new mechanics, and it's cool, aside from Dragon Age 2. But then they just keep pushing the envelope. They just keep pushing it, keep pushing it, keep pushing it, and they just bleed it dry, and then it just becomes a money grab, and I just don't like that for developers to do. I think developers should cool sequel, and then from that sequel go, all right, let's try a new thing, and then maybe come back to it if there's a demand for it and stuff like that, or how you left the story. But Duke Nukem, Diablo 3, Dragon Age 2, those games, even those games hold true into my head of no, that's gonna be like, don't wait over a decade to make a game either, because that'll just fucking ruin it as well. But yeah.
My final point would be very careful with the developer of the game that you're waiting for the sequel for. Because that developer will tell you exactly what you're getting. If you're getting Activision or EA, you have a pretty good idea of what you're getting.
That's very true. I agree with that. Yeah, for the most part, all the developers kind of have. You can just, I don't know, look at their past games and how they've handled it and stuff like that. They have a trend, and usually they stick to that trend. So anyway, so that's it for this week's podcast, Steam podcast, that is. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be streaming all week. So actually, Becker, are we streaming next Thursday for D&D?
I know we'll definitely have a podcast. The stream is still kind of up there in the air. I want to get feedback with the entire group
Okay.
to make sure everyone's fine with streaming, or see it's just one person that's not, and then kind of go from there.
Gotcha. We are going to be doing a podcast for D&D specifically. It's called Ready Action, a podcast for D&D. So look for that. Follow that. I am Buddy, and I'm signing off.
Later.
Bye-bye.